Coachella Valley! Coachella Valley! Where you at, baby? Hello, somebody. Oh my God, can I just say that? It's such a pleasure to be here this evening. I love you all too. Love you. Much love, Coachella Valley. Now y'all know I came from Ohio. I was hoping it was a little warmer out here. I guess compared to Cleveland, Ohio, it is. No, much love, much love. No, seriously, I just came back from North and South Carolina, so I want you to shout out your sisters and brothers in North Carolina, South Carolina. It's a beautiful thing to be here among you as well. We know that there is an awakening that's happening in this nation, and you are a part of that awakening. And you know what some folks want to call radical is right on time. If you are among the 500,000 folks in this great nation who sleep out on our streets every day, when the senator talks about housing for all, that plan is not radical, it's right on time. If you are among the workaday people in this nation who continue to suffer under the greed, the suffocation of greed and exploitation in this country, when Senator Bernard Sanders stands up to the system and says that people deserve better wages, we're going to start with $15 an hour, minimum wage, what he is saying is not radical, it's right on time. And if you don't have the benefit of health care in this country, or if you are dependent on your employer year after year, their mercy to make sure that they keep the same health care plan that you have, if you are among the millions of people who are either uninsured or underinsured, when Senator Bernard Sanders talks about the moral right for every human being in this country to have health care for all, what he is talking about is not radical, baby. It's right on time. And so for all of these Democrats, hello somebody, who talking about, you know, they want you to have choice. That somehow that the senator's plan is taking away your choice. It might be some babies here, so I'm not going to curse, but let me just say this. He's not, curse away. He's not taking away your choice. You still will have your choice of doctors, hello somebody, your choice of hospital, come on somebody. What you will not have to worry about is co-pays, deductibles, and premiums. Oh, your choice is still there. So for the neoliberal class and the folks who are pretending like they really care, the choice to die in the streets is no choice at all. Medicare for all. And for our black and brown and indigenous sisters and brothers in this country, if I might just pause for a minute and talk about a legal system that is unjust in every single way. And that in order to deal with systemic racism, it is not the black community's burden to bear. It's not the brown community's burden to bear. People of color should not have to bear that burden alone, and so it's going to be a beautiful thing to have a president in office that is going to stand up against white supremacy and racism in the United States of America. We're going to deal with this, and we're going to deal with this stuff together. I want to give a shout out to the McCree family who live in South Carolina. Their son was gunned down in a Walmart parking lot. Some of you may have heard that story. And an investigation is still going on right now, but I am calling you to send prayers to that family. They're asking for justice for their son. No matter what he may have done, police officers are not supposed to be the judge, the jury, and the executioner. We're sick and tired of black men being gunned down in this country, and we're not going to stand for it anymore. And it isn't a beautiful thing to have a president who is committed that any police-related shootings will be investigated by the Department of Justice. Hello, somebody. Hello, somebody. So, sisters and brothers, this is an awakening time, and we know that the system is always going to look out for itself. And that is why Senator Sanders always talks about the fact that this is not about me, that this is about us, and that we need millions and millions and millions of people across this great nation to stand up together against a system that is rigged to its core. And because it has been rigged by the political class, baby, we're going to unrig it, and we're going to unrig it on purpose. It's not radical to want to live a good life. It is not radical for everyday people to ask for decency. And it is a sin, and dare I say a damn shame, that in the United States of America, that working people are made to feel bad, that folks won't even say the word poor, that the system itself, because of politicians, not all of them, but far too many of them, have been bought and sold. But I know a man by the name of Bernard Sanders, by way of Brooklyn, who represents the great state of Vermont, who has been standing up year after year after year after year, decade after decade after decade, not just because he's running for president, because it's the right thing to do. That he has been on a justice journey for a very long time. Now, sisters and brothers, I hail from a Christian tradition. My mother was a minister, and I had to go to church 8 days a week. Can I just say that? And I know that there are people out there of many faiths, but I just want to share a scripture in my faith that says that you will know the tree by the fruit that it bears. So if I got some farmers out there, some cultivators out there, you understand that for a tree to be able to bear fruit, it has to be cultivated for a very long time. There is only one person running for president of the United States of America that we can hashtag receipts, that we can hashtag roll the tape. Roll the tape. Roll the tape, baby. And we see that he has been a consistent warrior for justice. That when he stands up for labor, for the House of Labor, it's not new just because he's running for president. Hello, somebody. That he doesn't equivocate on Medicare for all. Hello, somebody. That even before he takes the oath of office as the 46th president of these United States of America, because it's going to happen, that he's been on the picket lines and the front lines, that he challenged Jeff Bezos even before he takes office, $15 an hour, that he said to Disney World, $15 an hour, that because of his vision and his courage, along with the fight for 15 folks in SEIU, that 400,000 of our closest friends got a pay raise. Hello, somebody. Now, if our senator can do that before he even takes the oath of office, imagine what he is going to be able to do once he is the next president of the United States of America. So haters gonna hate, and that's all right. But Coachella Valley, we need the people like you who are assembled here tonight to leave here more energized and more committed to do what is right, which is to knock on doors, to have conversations. We're going to shake this thing up and surprise not only this country but the world to elect a man who has stood up for working people in this nation all of his life. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had a quote that says the following: the true measure of a man. And I want you to wrap your minds around this. The true measure of a man is not where he stands in times of comfort and convenience. It's not where they stand when everything is all right. It's where they stand at times of controversy and challenge. You will know the tree by the fruit that it bears. Senator Bernard Sanders, as a young man bearing good fruit, standing up as a student at the University of Chicago, fighting against housing segregation. Roll the tape. Roll the tape. There's only one. as mayor of Vermont, in Burlington, Vermont, standing up for the working people, creating housing trusts so that big businesses could not price working class people from being able to benefit from the housing that was being built in that city. Roll the tape. You shall know the tree by the fruit that it bears. In 2010, Senator Sanders stood up and filibustered against the extension of the Bush tax cuts for 8.5 hours. Roll the tape. You will know the tree by the fruit that it bears. When he was running for president this last time in 2016, he stood side by side with workers who were striking, not because he was running for president, but because it was the right thing to do. Roll the tape. You will know the tree by the fruit that it bears. And so all these other folks, they find people. I can hear the senator saying that they really find people. But let me just say this to you, sisters and brothers, that there are many, many, many copies. But why would you take the copy when you can have the original? Hello, somebody. Come on, somebody. Help us, sister out. You ain't got to take the copy, because we got the original. And one thing that you do know is the senator doesn't have fundraisers and wine cellars. Hello, somebody. Hello. He don't stand up in the living rooms of multimillionaires and billionaires and say to them that nothing will fundamentally change for them. If nothing fundamentally changes for them, then nothing fundamentally changes for you and you and you and you and you and you and you. And guess what? We need some fundamental change in the United States of America. And that change is coming. And it's coming under the leadership of Senator Bernard Sanders. Hello, somebody. We're going to do this. So I want you to take it to the streets. We taking this all the way to the streets, all the way to the White House, and we going to show the talking heads and the elite of this country what the working class people of this nation really want. We want what is right, we want what is just, and we want what is good. So Coachella Valley, I need you to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because this is going to be a bumpy ride, but awakening is happening every single day in every corner of this nation. And California, y'all gonna bring it on home for us. Y'all gonna bring it on home. So I need you to do something for me besides leave this place more motivated to do the hard work that is necessary for the senator to win this thing, for us to go to the White House, because he means it when he says that this is not about me, this is about us. But I need you to raise one hand for yourself. Can you do this for me? And one hand for somebody else. Dr. Maya Angelou once said that we must have the courage to stand up for ourselves and then the courage to stand up for somebody else. And with these hands, we will have Medicare for all. Hello, somebody. With these hands, we will have college for all. With these hands, we will cancel student debt. With these hands, we will cancel medical debt. With these hands, we will put Wall Street on notice. With these hands, we'll put the pharmaceutical industry on notice. With these hands, we're going to put the oil industry on notice. With these hands, we're going to put the prison industrial complex on notice. With these hands, we're going to eradicate institutional racism. With these hands, we will have transcendence. And with these hands, we will elect Senator Bernard Sanders. Hello. Come on, somebody. Come on, somebody. With these hands, we will elect Senator Bernard Sanders, the next president.
Thank you, Rancho Mirage. Let me thank all of those who have spoken earlier. Let me thank the Desert Rhythm Project. Let me thank Chris Shiflett. Let me thank the Circular Aztecia Sitlaw Todak. You know, they brought a little bit of spiritualism to us, and God knows this country needs that right now. We got to go into our hearts and into our souls. And let me thank Roxana Garcia and Lorraine Salas. Let me thank Mayor Stephen Hernandez. Tonight, the Mayor Hernandez of Coachella and the entire City Council endorsed our campaign, and I thank them very much. And let me thank Senator Nina Turner. Senator Turner has been running all over this country, engaging working class people, black and white and Latino, Native American, Asian American, into the political process, which is exactly what needs to happen in this country. Now, there are a number of issues that are out there of enormous consequence, and I want to just begin by touching on one that I just learned about a few minutes ago. And that is, it turns out that our campaign is going to have to do everything that we can to protect democracy in America and the right of people to vote. You might not have thought that we would have to do that. You might have assumed that we were living in a democracy where we had a clash of ideas, where people voted, but that is increasingly not the case. Recently, as you may have heard, the state of Wisconsin purged 200,000 people from their voting lists. And tonight, although it's not yet definitive, a judge can yet overrule it, the state of Georgia just purged 300,000 people from their voting list. Needless to say, these are two battleground states. And I gotta say, to those Republican governors and officials who are too cowardly to debate the real issues facing this country, too cowardly to engage in a free, fair, and open debate, too cowardly to think that the only way they can win an election is by denying people the right to vote, I say to those cowards, get out of politics and get another job. We are going to restore, it's hard for me to have to say this, but our administration will restore democracy into the United States of America. We're going to end voter suppression and voter purges. We are going to do everything we can to make sure that billionaires do not buy elections. And I am very proud to tell you what kind of distinguishes our campaign from all of the others is that as of this moment, we have raised more campaign contributions from more people than any candidate in the history of the United States of America. Now, some candidates have super PACs. We got billionaires contributing all kinds of unaccountable money. And other candidates go around to, maybe they come to Palm Springs or wherever, and they hold these fancy fundraisers for wealthy people. That is not what we do. And I'm proud to tell you, our average contribution is $18. And that's because this is a campaign of the working class of this country, by the working class of this country, for the working class of this country. And when we are in the White House, and I use that word "we" intentionally, we're going to have a government that represents all of us, not just the 1%. This campaign obviously is about defeating the most dangerous president in the history of this country. That goes without saying. We're going to beat Trump because the American people are sick and tired of someone who is a pathological liar, someone who is corrupt, someone who is a racist, a sexist, a homophobe, a xenophobe, and a religious bigot. Other than that, but I would hope that in California and all across this country, regardless of one's political views, and I know this is increasingly true, there are people who are conservatives, moderates, who are saying, you know, forget the issues. We cannot have somebody in the White House who lies every single day. So our campaign, what Trump is trying to do, of course, is to divide the American people up. What he is trying to do is divide us up by the color of our skin, by where we were born, by our sexual orientation, by our religion, by our gender. Our campaign is going to win because we are doing exactly the opposite. We're bringing people together. Black and white and Latino, Native American, Asian American. And we are bringing people together around an agenda that works for all of us, not just the wealthy. And let me very briefly tell you what that agenda is about. That agenda says that if you are a farm worker, or you're working at Amazon, or you're working at Target, or you're working at the local supermarket, we are going to make sure that you earn a living wage at least $15 an hour. We're going to make sure that in this country, we pay people equal pay for equal work. And because we believe in the trade union movement and the rights of workers to join unions, we're going to make it easier for millions of workers to become union members. And because we understand that the future of our country rests with the young people, we are going to bring about massive changes in the way this country does education. We are going to have universal, affordable, high-quality child care for every working class parent in this country. We're going to triple funding for low-income Title I schools throughout America. And because we believe in education, we believe in educators. And that means I do not want to continue seeing great teachers all over this country leaving the profession because they got to work 2 or 3 jobs. I don't want to see teachers take money out of their own pockets in order to buy school supplies because the school budget is so weak. And I'll tell you what I do want to see, because there are very few jobs that are more important than educating our young people. I want kids in college today to be thinking about becoming teachers, and I want them to know that we will move forward to make sure that no teacher in America makes less than $60,000 a year. And because we believe in education, what we believe is that everybody in America, regardless of the income of your family, must have the right to get a higher education. And that is why we're going to make public colleges and universities tuition free. But it's not just college. There are a lot of young people who want to go out there and work with their hands. And they have the right to get the training they need tuition free as well. And I'll tell you what else we're going to do, because we think outside of the box. We have the radical idea that maybe government should work for all of us and not just the billionaires. All of you will remember that 11 years ago, against my vote as a member of Congress, the Congress voted to bail out the crooks on Wall Street who nearly destroyed our economy. 2 years ago, Trump and his friends gave $1 trillion in tax breaks to large, profitable corporations and the top 1%. Well, if Congress can do all of that for the rich and the powerful, Congress can cancel all student debt in this country. And when you think outside of the box, you start asking questions that are not asked in Congress, not often asked in the media. And one question that people ask me all of the time is, Bernie, how does it happen that here in the United States, we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people as a human right? How does it happen that we end up spending twice as much per person on health care as do the people of any other country, yet 87 million Americans are uninsured or underinsured? 30,000 people die every single year because they don't get to a doctor on time because they're uninsured or underinsured. And listen to this, which is unbelievable in terms of its cruelty. Last year, some 500,000 Americans went bankrupt because of medically related debt. So I want you to think about it. I want you to think about the cruelty of the current system. What it says is that if you are dealing with cancer, you're dealing with heart disease, you're dealing with Alzheimer's in your family, you're dealing with some terrible, terrible illness, and you're running up a huge medical bill, that you stand the chance of financial ruin on top of your illness. That is not and will not take place in the United States of America when we are in the White House. And I want you all to understand what Medicare for All means, because there's a massive disinformation campaign going on about it. So let me be clear. It's not an idea that I invented or thought up in the middle of the night. It goes on in countries all over the world. On the Medicare for All, no more premiums. Gone. No more co-payments. Gone. And one of the most insane things that I have ever heard of is the concept of a deductible. Gone. No more out-of-pocket expenses. Gone. And nobody in America will have to pay more than $200 a year for prescription drugs, because we are going to take on the greed and corruption of the pharmaceutical industry. And what we are going to do, we're going to pay for this among many other ways, by exempting the first $29,000 from taxation, have a 4% tax on people's income, which means the average family in America making $60,000 a year will pay $1,200 a year for comprehensive health care that will always be there for them. A pretty good deal. And let me say a word about an issue which I do not have to educate the people of California about, because you know, unfortunately, more about this than people throughout the world. And that is the fact that climate change is not only real, not only already causing devastating problems in this country and around the world, but what the scientists are now telling us is they have underestimated the degree and severity in which climate change is ravaging this planet. That's not me. That is what the scientists are telling us. And what they are saying is sea levels are going to rise significantly, putting coastal communities in our country and around the world underwater in the next several decades if we do not get our act together. They are telling us that the ocean is becoming increasingly acidified, killing off fish, which are the source of protein for hundreds of millions of people around the world. They are telling us that drought, which God only knows you know about in California, will only get worse. And I do not have to tell anybody here about the horrific wildfires that this state has experienced, or that Australia is now on fire. And I don't have to tell you that with drought, farmers in the Midwest and all over the world will have shorter planting seasons, meaning less food will be produced and the quality of that food will go down. I don't have to tell you, because you already know that the UN has told us that there will be hundreds of millions of climate refugees around the world. People who are forced off of their land because there's no water to drink, there's no land to grow the crops they need to stay alive. And when hundreds of millions of people migrate, you have incredible international tension and the likelihood of more and more war. So, brothers and sisters, we are facing not just an American crisis, we are facing an existential global crisis. And it is pathetic that in the White House, we have a president who not only does not understand the first thing about climate change, but is making the situation even worse by encouraging more and more fossil fuel production. I am very proud to tell you that our campaign has produced the most comprehensive and significant climate change legislation ever introduced by any candidate running for federal office. And that is, our proposal is based on the Green New Deal. And what that means is that we are going to take on the greed and recklessness of the fossil fuel industry. And we are going to tell them that they will no longer be allowed to destroy our planet for their short-term profits. We are going to move energy production away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. But what makes this problem even more complicated and difficult than it is this is not just an American issue. We can do all the right things tomorrow and the problem will not be solved. So what I will do as President of the United States is reach out to the people all over this world and make the case that maybe, just maybe, instead of spending $1.8 trillion a year on weapons of destruction designed to kill each other. Maybe we should pool our resources, fight our common enemy, which is climate change. When we begin the process of transforming our energy system and retrofitting our buildings and investing massively in wind, solar, geothermal, and other sustainable energies, when we have a new transportation system which is not based on fossil fuel, we can create up to 20 million good-paying jobs. We have a president who seems to get satisfaction by demonizing undocumented people in this country. On day one, through executive order, we will rescind all of the racist executive orders on immigration that Trump has promulgated. On day one, we will restore legal status to the 1.8 million young people and their parents eligible for the DACA program. We will demand that Congress do what the American people want them to do, and that is pass comprehensive immigration reform and a path toward citizenship. And I will tell you this, we will, under our administration, never have federal agents snatching babies from the arms of their mothers, dividing up families, or throwing children into cages. I'll tell you something else very high on our priority list is to end the broken and racist criminal justice system that we now have. In the richest country in the history of the world, which is what we are, we should not have more people in jail than any other country on earth, including China. And what we are going to do with our approach to criminal justice is to make sure that we do everything possible to keep people from entering jail. And we do that by investing in jobs and education for our kids, not more jails or incarceration. If a kid has the job training and the education and is able to go out and get a decent job, that kid is not going to end up in jail. And the truth is, it costs a hell of a lot less money to send that kid to the University of California than put that kid in jail. And what we are also going to do is understand that right now in America, a lot of people don't know this, 400,000 people tonight are sitting behind bars because they are poor and cannot afford cash bail. They haven't been convicted of anything. They just can't afford bail to get out of jail. We're going to end cash bail in America. We are going to end private prisons and detention centers. Corporations should not be making profits by locking up fellow Americans. Tell you what else we're going to do in criminal justice. We're going to end, finally, this destructive so-called war on drugs. And that means making marijuana legal in every state in the country. All right, here's the question. All right, you ready for a question? How many people here know of somebody who was arrested for possession of marijuana? Raise your hands. All right, we're going to expunge the records of everybody in America arrested for possession of marijuana. And what we're also going to do, which is an idea that I didn't come up with, it came to me from our friends in the Latino and African American community. And what they said, interestingly enough, they said, look, it's great, you're going to legalize marijuana in 50 states, that's good. But what we don't want is a handful of corporations to be controlling the marijuana industry. And in fact, the people who should benefit most economically from the legalization of marijuana are the people who have suffered the most from the war on drugs. And our proposal invests in the African American community, the Latino community, Native American community, to help those folks create the businesses they need to make some money out of the legalization of marijuana. There's another issue that has hit California and states all over this country, and we get sick to our stomachs and, have a hard time dealing with the horrific number of mass shootings that we see every other day. I mean, we've lost 40,000 people a year because of gun violence. Kids are scared to death now, traumatized about even going to school. I saw a woman in New Hampshire who says, Bernie, what am I supposed to do when my daughter wants me to get a bulletproof backpack for her? Kid is 11 years of age. All right. What we will do in terms of gun policy, the main thing I think we do is develop gun policy that the American people want, not gun policy dictated by the NRA. And that means universal background checks. That means ending the gun show loophole. It means ending the so-called straw man provision. And it also means what the American people now believe. Didn't believe this a few years ago. The American people now believe we should end the sale and distribution of assault weapons in this country. I am a United States Senator, and I'm on the floor of the Senate occasionally listening to speeches. Not the most pleasant experience in the world, but that's what I'm paid to do, so I do it. And often I hear my conservative colleagues on the floor of the Senate, they say, we believe in small government, and we believe that we should get the government off the backs of the American people. Let people make their own choices. We don't want big government. Well, I say to those hypocrites that if you believe in getting the government off the backs of the American people, understand that it is women who should control their own bodies, not politicians. So my promise to you is I will never, ever nominate anybody to the U.S. Supreme Court who is not 100% pro Roe v. Wade. As a United States Senator, I know a little bit about the power of the corporate elite. I know about the incredible power of Wall Street, where 6 financial institutions own assets of over $10 trillion. You got that? 6 institutions controlling assets of over $10 trillion. I know about the corruption and greed of the drug companies who engage in price fixing so that in some cases you are paying 10 times more for the same exact drug as people in other countries are paying. I know about the greed of the insurance industry that will spend a fortune trying to prevent us from moving toward Medicare for all. I know about the military-industrial complex that has pushed Congress to pass a $750 billion military budget, more than the 10 next nations combined, and has pushed us to be involved in endless wars. We are going to end those endless wars. My point is, I know about the power of the corporate elite. And I know that they have endless, and by using the word endless, that is what I mean. You know, most normal people, and I grew up, and my wife grew up in a working class family. You say, well, if I spend money here, I can't spend money there. You know, listen, you got a budget. You know what you can spend. These guys can spend as much as they want. The healthcare industry last year made $100 billion in profits. If they spent 1% of their profits fighting Medicare fraud, that would be $1 billion. All right? We are taking on people who have unbelievable wealth, unbelievable power. We are living in a moment of massive income and wealth inequality where 3 people own more wealth than the bottom half of America. So the 1% and the corporate elite are enormously powerful, and nobody should underestimate their power and their influence. But at the end of the day, the 1% is 1%. And if we stand together and not allow Trump and his friends to divide us up based on the color of our skin or where we were born or our sexual orientation or our religion or whatever, if we stand together around an agenda that works for working people, we can take on, we can defeat Trump and his 1% friends. Now, Trump and the Republicans, what they want to do is have billionaires buy elections and suppress the vote. And the way we win is to have the largest voter turnout in the history of this country. And that means young people being involved in the political process. It means working class people being involved in a way that we have never seen before. And let me mention that here in California, if you want to vote in the Democratic primary, you've got to register as a Democrat. Please do that. Or else you're not going to be able to vote in the Democratic presidential primary. So here is the bottom line, brothers and sisters. This is a pivotal, unprecedented moment in American history. We're taking on an extraordinarily dangerous president. We're taking on a corporate elite. We're taking on a political class that is trying to suppress the vote, make it harder for people to participate. This is an election that we cannot afford to lose, not only for ourselves, but in terms of climate change for our kids and future generations. So tonight I'm here to ask for your help. Help us win the Democratic primary in California. Help us defeat the most dangerous president in American history. And help us transform this country and create a government and an economy that works for all of us, not just the billionaire class. Thank you all very much.